literally on top of the brush pile. Yeah. God, he's big.
Really?
Yeah.
You in net?
I got him. Oh my god. There we go.
Like a 5-pounder.
You got the frame at least. Man.
Go, dude.
Put that old football jig in his mouth.
That's gonna, I'm gonna roll that in. Right in the top of the mouth. You reckon she's supposed to bite?
Yeah. Thin
God, look how
and skinny. Lake fish right there. Look at that. Cheap.
Yeah, she's gonna sit on
Here we go.
Oh! That boy got clapped. Oh my god, that's a good one.
Go.
I got 4. Well, they're on the rock pile.
Big old crappie. That's like a 5.
Yeah, this sucker's fat. Oh, yes, sir. Yeah, 4.5. Jig in his face.
That was sexy.
I know. Need to weigh this one for my big fish list. Oh, that's a fish. Yep, there he is. Doubles. Dang it, get another one. We got the school fired up. That's a spot.
That's not a spot.
On the Spro Little John. I'm a fan of this thing now.
Like 3 casts when you catch 2 fish.
Oh god, dude, that's a freaking good one. Dude, he freaking hammered it. It's that one cast right there, dude. Largemouth.
See how dark that thing is?
Yeah.
It's grouped up deep. Oh, he's got that thing sideways.
Ooh. I had to deal with my.
Get him off. He's great. I have no idea.
Another one? Look at that. That's the cast. Oh, that's a largemouth. Oh, keep him down. That's a better one than that. Look how post spawn.
No funny.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's not a bad one. Oh, that's not a bad fish.
Yeah.
There's so many fish down there. Don't lose. Mine's freaking sticking me right now.
Look how spawned out this spotted bass is.
No, he's just fighting really hard. I mean, he's kicking my butt. Golly, this thing is mean. Oh, that's probably the biggest one.
Really? Oh, dang, that's a good one.
Biggin. Biggin.
Giant. Well, that was a lot of fun. We just found a school offshore, got them fired up, caught a bunch of fish out of it. So now we're going to tell y'all exactly what we do this time of year, how we find these fish offshore, what we look for offshore, and what baits we use to target these fish offshore.
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 They are offshore.
All right, so when I sit down here and I look at this map, Lake Master does a great job. Some of the things I'm going to be looking for are main lake points, underwater points, maybe a channel swing, or where the contour lines get real tight. It's a steep drop off. Those ledges are usually good. Some other stuff I'm going to be looking for are main lake humps. If you see on your map, you know, you're looking in 25 feet of water and all of a sudden there's a spot on your map that comes up to 18, 15 feet. You know, those are good spots to target. Big flats, shallow flats, deep flats, a lot of times hold fish. Tires are always good. There's a lot of tires offshore here in East Texas. Those are some of the areas that we're going to be looking for when we look on this map for offshore bass. So whenever I pull up to these spots and we're graphing, some of the things that we're going to be looking for on the side imaging and down imaging is lay down trees, brush piles, rock piles, even hard spots where you get a real hard return. It lights up the graph a little bit different shade. That's about it. So now Reese is going to talk about the baits we like to throw in each of these different situations.
So Mark just talked about the areas we look for fish and the structure that we look for while we're graphing those areas. And so I'm going to talk about the baits that I pick up in each of these areas. And so when you graph over these spots, the way the fish are set up on each of these areas, that determines which bait I'm going to pick up in each scenario. But for the most part, I've got a 5-rod system basically that I like to pick up anytime that I am out offshore fishing. So my first rod that I always pick up when I'm looking for an offshore spot or just trying a new spot that I've never been to is a Carolina rig. A Carolina rig is a great way to sweep the bottom, and it's basically a locator to me. If I'm looking for a brush pile or a bunch of rocks or anything, I'll throw a Carolina rig down there and just drag it across the bottom, because you can cover a lot of water with it, and it's a really good way to locate the structure. And once I've done that, then it'll open up basically all the rest of the rods. And so I'll pick up a football jig, a shaky head, and the last bait that I'll pick up is a drop shot. After I've caught fish in all these spots, right before I go, I'll take 5 or 10 casts with a drop shot just to clean up, because a lot of those fish, you know, are really used to seeing, you know, a Carolina rig, a football jig, but a little drop shot worm is just a great way to pick up a few extra bites in those brush piles or offshore structure. And then another bait that I like to use is a crankbait, because some of those fish, you know, like these 4 rods that I've talked about are slow moving baits, and sometimes you gotta get them to react because they're just sitting there and maybe in like a really negative mood. You have to throw something that will trigger them, and so a great way to do that is with a crankbait. And so a medium diving crankbait or a deep diving crankbait, depending on the depth of the structure, is what I'll pick up. So those are the rods that I like to pick up and the baits that I throw in and around that structure that we find offshore.